everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for this month's BookTuber Shoutout video. Okay, so for all those of you who are just tuning in, thank you first of all so much for joining me. I have been growing quite a bit recently, which I'm super excited about. So thank you to anyone that is new. So glad to have you here. Thank you also to all the people who are not new. Always really glad to have you here. But yeah, this is a video that I do once a month where I randomly generate 4 different booktubers that I would like to shout out and talk about why they are amazing and why you should go and subscribe to all of their channels. Some of these are bigger booktubers, some of these are smaller booktubers. They're in no particular order. I do have a list on my phone. There are 68 people currently. I am adding new people to the list all the time because I'm always finding new amazing booktubers. But yeah, there are 68 currently, so I use a number generator to generate a number, random number generator, and then I go and find who that person is at that number, and then I tell you about that. Last time I did this, I will link that video in the description below. I did include a image here, or the video here, of the random number generator and then me finding that person. Personally, I didn't think it really added anything to the video, so I'm not going to do it this time. But if you did appreciate that, if you did think it added something to the video, then please let me know in the comments and I will continue doing that if most people want me to, because I'm more than happy to do it if that is what is wanted. So, having said all of those things, let's go on now and randomly generate the first number. It is number 57, so let's see who number 57 is. Okay, so number 57 is made between pages. Before I go any further, obviously I should say that all of the channel links are in the description below for everyone that I talk about here. So Made Between Pages is the channel name. The person's name is actually Taylor. Taylor is an American who is currently living in Japan. She does talk about quite a few different books that are Japanese, and she does do some vlogs and different videos that talk about her experiences living in Japan, but most of her books are bookish videos. I really like Taylor's videos. I find them really, really interesting. I find all of the content where she talks about Japan and her experiences in Japan really, really interesting. But in general, I just think that she's a very relaxed, laid-back booktuber who I appreciate her videos. I do also really like her aesthetic. I like the way she does her thumbnails. I like her kind of background that she has in her videos. I think it's really pretty. So that's something that if you like a pretty aesthetic, then I definitely think that you will enjoy Taylor's content. But like I said, I just think that she is really thoughtful and intelligent in what she talks about in her videos. I do think that we do have a lot of similarities in our taste in terms of the kinds of books that we like to read. Taylor does read a lot of fantasy, as do I. She does read a lot of different fantasy than what I have read, but every time she talks about something that I haven't read, like the Poppy War series, something along those lines, I always get really interested and really excited to read what she's talking about. So I would highly recommend for that reason as well. I think that she's really great at motivating us to read different books. She does read a lot of books that are kind of inspired by Japanese culture or Asian culture, which is something that I really appreciate learning about because I am trying to branch out and diversify my reading, but certainly still something I need to work on. Asian cultures are not something I know a huge amount about, so I'm always interested to find out more, and one of my favourite ways of doing so is by reading books that are fiction but still based in those cultures and histories and so on. So that's something I really appreciate about Taylor as well. So I definitely highly recommend that you go and check out Taylor's channel, which, as I said, is Made Between Pages. And yeah, that's our first person. Alright, so let's check out who the next person is. 51. Not going far. Okay, so number 51 is Sarah Louise Reads. So, Sarah Louise or Kerry, sorry Kerry, I think it's actually Kerry now that I've thought about it, is a British booktuber. I really appreciate her thoughtful approach to her wrap-ups. She is very, like I said, very thoughtful in the way she talks about what she is reading. She's obviously very much trying to diversify her reading, which is something that I am really appreciative of because I am also trying to do that. So I find that really interesting just to hear her journey there as well. Kerry is a Christian and she reads a lot of books that are Christian and based in Christianity. She also reads a lot of non-fiction about Christianity, and I find it really interesting because she is talking about a kind of version of, maybe not a version, but talking about an approach to Christianity that I find really, really refreshing. So a lot of the books that she reads are to do with feminism and Christianity and looking at different ways of approaching Christianity, looking at different perceptions of the world based on a Christian background and how we can change that, how that may be not necessarily all that helpful or how that potentially could be in fact helpful. It's really interesting for me and really refreshing for me to hear someone who is trying to diversify and educate themselves and diversify their reading, but taking it from a religious point of view. I find that really interesting as well. I find it refreshing because it's not something that I think of as a particularly Christian approach. Maybe I'm generalizing as well here, but that's just something that I have struggled with myself from a perspective of being brought up in a Christian world, in a Christian society, and taking how do you have a faith or a background or a religion? How do you continue to have that when so much of the culture surrounding that is antithesis to what you also believe and want to learn about and want to know about and the way you see the world? And I think that her attempt to learn and to diversify in that way is really interesting to me as well. It speaks to me, this is not something I've ever talked about before on this channel, but it speaks to me as well, and I find it really interesting and helpful. So thank you very much, Kerry. I do really appreciate your thoughts and in general about books in general, not just this particular topic. Very niche, this particular topic. So it's not to say that if you're not interested in that area of study or that area way of thinking about things or whatever, that you won't appreciate Kerry's channel, because I think that you will. I think in general she's just very thoughtful about what she thinks, about the way she approaches things, about her thinking and feeling about things, her general understanding of the world and her approach to books and her feelings about books. Yeah, I think she's really thoughtful and interesting. So I really appreciate her channel, and I think that if you like well thought out, interesting perceptions of books and the world, then I think that you really like Kerry's channel. So I definitely recommend that you go ahead and check her out and subscribe. So let's see who the next randomly generated YouTuber we're going to talk about is. Number 15, and that is Lore and Lullabies. So Lore and Lullabies is run by Lana. Lana is another Australian booktuber. I think that Lana is incredibly underrated. I think she is just such a lovely person. She's one of my booktube besties. She and Ellie and I run the Last to Read book club, which I will link the announcement video in the description below, which is a book club that we started because we wanted to read a bunch of different books that we knew we were one of the last to read. So at the moment we're reading the Every series. The next lot, which will start in November, will be the Arc of the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. So keep an eye out for all of that information. Like I said, the announcement video is in the description below. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about booktubers, and like I said, this person is Lana from Lore and Lullabies. I just love Lana. I just love her personality. I think she's really, really fun. She's lovely. She's one of the nicest people you will ever see, and she's very chilled. I love the way she talks about books. She obviously, even though her approach is very chilled, she's obviously really, really invested in everything that she reads. She really thinks highly of most of the things that she reads, and she loves reading. She has such a fun time reading and talking about books. I also really love the fact that she will do a lot of really artistic, fun stuff. So she gets dressed up for lots of the videos that she makes, and she goes to a lot of effort to do those sorts of things. So even though I just said she was very relaxed, which I do think she is, she still puts in a lot of effort and time and energy into the way that she creates videos and the aesthetic that she builds. And yeah, she obviously seems to have so much fun with the videos that she makes. So if you're looking for a really fun, interesting, just all-around amazing person, then I definitely think that you should subscribe to Lana's channel, and I do definitely think she's severely underrated. Another thing that I really love about Lana as a person, and by extension her channel, is that she is very big on reading and promoting indie and self-published authors. Some of you probably know that in the month of July I was one of the team leaders for the Indie Accords, which is a readathon based around reading indie and self-published authors, and that was something that Lana thought up, and she approached 4 different people, myself included, and asked us to be team leaders on that readathon. And I was really flattered to be asked, and really interested in what she was trying to do with the readathon. I had a lot of fun with the readathon, and yeah, it made me read a bunch of different independently and self-published books that I hadn't necessarily thought of before, and that was something I really appreciated. And so yeah, Lana is just a really big advocate for indie and self-published works, which I think is fantastic, and I definitely think is really worth doing. So I'm really proud of Lana for that, and really impressed with Lana for that. So if that's something that you're interested in as well, then I would highly recommend that you subscribe to Lana's channel. Okay, and our 4th and final booktuber that we're going to talk about today is number 28, which is Book Browsing Blog. So I feel like I probably don't really need to talk about Book Browsing Blog, which is the channel run by Maddie, because she did run a readathon in June, which had so many community members participating in, and it was so much fun. And yeah, I just feel like partly because of that readathon, pretty much everyone knows who Maddie is and knows about her channel. So that readathon was the Whatever-a-thon, and I will link the announcement video for that. I'm sure that it will come up again next year. So if you want to know what I'm talking about and how it all worked, then I will link that so you can be prepared. And obviously I've linked Maddie's channel in the description below. I really like Maddie's channel because, again, she is a very relaxed booktuber. She's just a person who has a chat with you about books, and you just feel like, again, you are chatting with a friend who's just come over to chat with you about what she's been reading and listen to you talk about what you've been reading, which is an approach that I really appreciate from a lot of the people that I watch on BookTube, that I subscribe to, and I really like that about Maddie's channel. I do think that we read a lot of similar books. Her most read genre seems to be either contemporary or magical realism, and I am including fantasy in that, and I definitely think that my most read genre is fantasy / magical realism as well. So I'm really interested to hear her thoughts on books we've read, and also to find out more about books that I haven't read from her, because I do feel like our tastes are very similar. So I feel like I'm going to get to know about a bunch of different books that maybe I wouldn't have heard of before, but that I know that I will most likely enjoy. So that's always really fun and always really exciting to get good recommendations that you trust. So yeah, I really love Maddie for that reason. But I think my favourite thing about Maddie's channel is her dart attack video. So every single month, her way that she makes her TBR is through a TBR game called Dart Attack. And what she has done is created a dart board with a bunch of different colours, and at the end of each colour sort of spoke is a prompt, and she literally throws darts at the dartboard to determine what she's going to read every month. And I just really enjoy that. I think it's a really fun approach to a TBR game, and she seems to really enjoy it, and that's always fun to watch when someone's having a good time. I also really appreciate that TBR game because I have gotten quite a few ideas for my own TBR game from her TBR game, particularly prompt related. I'm talking more about the sort of non-reading prompts. So she's got a bunch of different non-reading prompts like have a cozy reading night, watch a bunch of your videos in watch later. I'm trying to think what else. There was a bunch of different things that I thought were really fun. Listen to a podcast, all of that sort of thing. And I thought that sounded like a really fun dimension to add to my own prompts in my TBR game. So I have added those as well. So thank you, Maddie, for that inspiration. And yeah, I really appreciate that. And I hope that you are happy for me to have borrowed those prompts. But yeah, anyway, definitely subscribe to Maddie's channel. I think you'll really enjoy her videos and really enjoy that TBR game in particular. So those are all the amazing booktubers that I would like to talk with you about today. Like I said, all of the links to all of their channels are in the description below. I highly recommend that you go and subscribe to all of their channels. They're all fantastic booktubers and definitely deserve all the love. Yeah, so that's it from me today, guys. Please comment below if you have any other people that you think are amazing that you'd like me to consider going and talking about in my upcoming shoutouts, or you think that I maybe don't know about and I should subscribe to. Comment below if you have any other thoughts on anything I've discussed in this video. If you would like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then please leave me some kind of happy smiley face because we are sharing the love on BookTube. All of my social media details are listed in the description below. If you'd like to go and find me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. And thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for joining me. I really do hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.